So first off, where is this statement coming from? I guess I'm curious to know what got you guys to this point that you felt you needed to issue a statement about the impeachment.
We were very disappointed by the Supreme Court ruling and felt that it needs to be challenged, but we're not necessarily the body to mount a legal challenge, like a motion for reconsideration or something like that. So we decided instead to make a statement, and this is a joint statement of MAP, ourselves, and JRI, or Justice Reform Initiative, and Integrity Initiative. So we are really very specific about what we feel is wrong with the ruling, and we would like the Supreme Court to reconsider. But again, it's not a legal challenge. It's simply a plea, not even a legal plea. It is, a request for the Supreme Court to reconsider.
Mr. Ongpin, you said you were very frustrated with the decision of the Supreme Court. How about the actuations of the Senate, from the delay to the attempts to dismiss it? Are you also frustrated with that?
Yeah, definitely. It's the Senate's responsibility to hold this trial. It's very, very clear in the Constitution, right? And they found every way, the majority of the Senate found every way to try to delay it or defer it. And of course, there are senators who were trying to get the trial underway, and we thank them and respect them for those efforts. But the other senators were disappointed.
Papa, your business groups normally issue statements on matters affecting the business community. In this case, can you tell us what might be the impact of this impeachment case on the business environment in the country?
We had issued a previous statement even before the Supreme Court decision, where we said, accountability of public officials is really key, to business in the Philippines. We need to have the rule of law, and we're asking for the rule of law to prevail. And part of that is the accountability of the Vice President for all of these public funds. We want to know where the money went. And it's a concern not only of business, obviously, but of the entire population, because those are our taxes.
The investment groups have been saying, the foreign chambers have been saying for a long time that the weakness of the rule of law in our country is one of the disincentives to investment, and that's why we are actually lagging now behind our neighbors in terms of attracting FDI. Do you agree with that outlook?
It's certainly a factor. It's certainly a factor. Investors, that's one of the key things that they look at when they're looking to invest in the Philippines or any other country. Will they have a recourse to the law in the courts of that country? And I think it has been a disincentive to this particular impeachment issue, has been a disincentive to people looking to invest in the country.
Aside from this disincentive in terms of investments, Mr. Ongpin, what other dangerous repercussions or impact will this Supreme Court decision have on our country and our institutions if the Supreme Court disregard the motion for reconsideration of the Congress, of One Sambayan, of Akbayan in the next few days?
In terms of institutional problems, it's actually undermining the power of the House to to impeach officials. And I mean, not just the House, obviously, but the Senate as well. So the Congress of the Philippines, because they're the ones who should determine if a complaint, for instance, an impeachment, articles of impeachment are deemed initiated or not the Supreme Court.
Apa, you said this has been a disincentive for foreign investors that are eyeing the Philippines. And of course, it's, there's a bit of a disconnect there because on the other hand, you also have the president's team, constantly going overseas, trying to sell the Philippines as an investment destination, right? But what kind of conversations are you having with foreign investors? As outsiders, how are they looking at this whole impeachment play out?
Well, it varies by industry and sector. I want to emphasize that this is not just a concern for prospective foreign investors. This is a concern for domestic investors. This is a concern for big Filipino conglomerates and so on who need a rule of law, who need public accountability, because right now we're being shaken down. Our businesses are being shaken down by various government agencies. I'm not going to start a whole argument here, but it has to do with accountability and rule of law. Now, with regard to stuff like, let's talk about renewable energy. All right, renewable energy is a very rich field for investment in the Philippines because we're trying to redo our energy sector so that we're basically not going to burn coal anymore. We're trying to find other ways to do it. The problem is that this needs a very strong legal framework for the investment to come in. One example is offshore wind. We have to figure out how we can give these people a workable lease over essentially the seabed, which is a protected area, because without a hard lease, they can't get banks to lend them the money to do the project. The banks are going to say, "Oh, you don't own that." The government could take it away at any point, So you need a strong legal framework, and you need some kind of assurance that the rule of law will prevail. That's just one example.
Aside from
Papa, you mentioned you were being shaken down. Can I just clarify? Do you mean extortion? Are you referring to extortion?
I got to be careful here.
Or bribery? Are we talking bribery here?
Yeah, it's happening.
Or pressure, undue pressure. Okay, undue pressure.
Yeah.
That kind of thing on businesses.
Yes, and we're engaging with the government to talk about it, we welcome the president's pronouncements during the last SONA that he wants to fight corruption, and this is one way in which the private sector, we're gonna join him. Let's make it happen. Let's really fight corruption.
Yeah. I remember at the start of the year when the MAP, or the Management Association of the Philippines, opened their annual meeting by saying that corruption was back at the top of their concerns. And it does, feel like we've reached a tipping point because business chambers don't usually wade into political issues.
Yes.
I know you've been very careful about that. Did I read that correctly? Have we reached a tipping point? Has it gotten more serious, the problem?
Well, okay. I don't want to make it sound like it's gotten more serious under this administration. All right? I mean, this administration has engaged with us to try and address the issue.
Yeah.
Okay? I think definitely during the past administration, it really became an issue. It was huge during the past administration, and that's what we're fighting now. Now, these these different agencies and officials, and some of them are in the LGUs, they get away with it because, there's no accountability. There's accountability is not strong enough.
Aside from the major business groups which signed the statement, Mr. Ongpin, are there other groups with whom you are talking with, like church groups, like the CBCP, the Council of the Laity? Are you also talking with the Catholic Educators Association of the Philippines, the CEAP, and other groups in relation to your statement?
Yes, we're always in touch with the CBCP, with PBSP, Philippine Business for Social Project, which the Catholic Church is also heavily involved in. And yes, the academe, we're in touch with all of these people. And while our statement speaks for Makati Business Club, Management Association of the Philippines, and Justice Reform Initiative, we have taken under advisement what all of these other groups are saying and feeling.
Apa, you're aware of the ongoing campaign of the president against related to flood control projects and the contractors. Related to this, what does the business community want to see? I'm sure you are supporting the campaign, but what else do you want to see along this line, along the investigation?
Flood control is one of those hot button corruption issues because, you don't see buildings, you don't see results, you don't see like dams, stuff like that. It's all, dredging. I mean, a lot of the work is invisible when it's done. It's sewerage pipes under the road. It's all of that. So naturally, it becomes very, very easy to sort of co-opt, and derive income from, shall we say? So yeah, we would like to really support the president in his fight against that. And it really centers on a lot of contractors, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say.
But what specifically does the business community want to see there? Because as you know, in every conversation we've had about this, one thing that's come out clearly is that it's a systemic problem. So it starts with the insertions in Congress, then trickles down to the DPWH regional units and through the contractors and so on and so forth. So right now, I know that there's an audit into the contractors, but also there was a bit of confusion for a time that because DPWH was supposed to lead the investigation into it, and some people were pointing out that they shouldn't be the one to do that, and neither should Congress. Congressman Sandro Marcos himself said Congress shouldn't be the one to investigate itself. Specifically, what does the business community want to see here in order to really deliver the message that, look, we're serious about accountability?
Looking forward, we would like to see master plans for flood control that are open to the public, that are stated and very, very clear what the projects are about, right? And therefore, the bidding for these projects, I mean, it's supposed to be totally clear and open, but it should be a procurement process that attracts, the big contractors. I'm talking about the sort of FF Crews and DMCIs of this world, because these guys, they're the kings of big infrastructure, and they operate, largely without all of this corruption. They've gotten to that size by playing fair, and would like to see them do these things, not these shady fly-by-night contractors who, they were organized for the purposes of the bidding. They have no track record and so on.
Yeah.
So, we'd like to make it. Contractors should make a profit from this thing, right?
Yeah.
It should be profitable, okay? but not overly profitable. Um, and it needs to be, scrutinized very, very carefully. That there's no room for kickbacks and all of these things.
Mr. Ongpin, the budget process has started today. I think it
Sorry,
was-
sorry. Let me close out the conversation about flood control first. Could you flesh out for me why the bigger contractors are being crowded out of the process? You said they should be the ones getting the contracts, but why aren't they? Where's the
They're
problem?
not even bidding. I mean, they're like, this is so dirty. We don't want to touch it, right? And it's small potatoes for them. I mean, these little LGU flood control projects, it's a lot of trouble for not that much profit, right? So, why would they want to get involved? They're doing the big ticket projects, but sana we could make it interesting for those guys, because precisely that's how you cut down on corruption. You have very efficient engineering and very clear execution, where it shows where every peso was spent and what was the result.
These issues of corruption, flood control is intrinsically related to the ongoing budget discussion today. In a way, it dominates the budget discussion today. Are you part of that open BICAM process where civil society are now being given the opportunity to participate and
Yes.
even not only study the budget but to suggest corrective measures?
Yeah, we have asked the speaker if we can participate in the budget. There is a different budget committee that includes civil society. So yeah, we're very interested in that. And the whole point of the 2025 budget is that it was shanghaied, hijacked by vested interests in the House, who moved the money away from education, social welfare, and all of these other things which the Constitution says have to be the majority of the budget, and they moved it largely into local government infrastructure projects, and a lot of that was flood control, because that's where the fat is. That's pork barrel, buddy.
The problem, Mr. Ongpin, is that that budget, that controversial budget, was led by the present leadership overseeing the present budget for next year. So, with this same leadership, do you see any substantial changes in the way we do our national budget?
Okay, first of all, I want to say what's really important to us is that the 2025 budget, while being, hijacked by Congress, the reason we knew that it was hijacked was because the budget process was the most open it had ever been. And I really need to credit the budget Department of Budget and Management, led by Secretary Pangandaman, because we wouldn't have known. We wouldn't have known if it wasn't for her department. So, as far as the present leadership, the executive has done amazing steps to open this process and make it clear to everyone what is going on. Now, the House leadership, basically, the president has slapped their wrists and says, I'm not going to sign a budget like this again. I mean, we argue that he shouldn't have signed it in the first place, but okay, that's water under the bridge. Let's make sure that the 2026 budget is social justice, at least.
How about the Senate, Mr. Ongpin? Because it was supposed to be a BICAM, and in a BICAM, it was the House and the Senate who was doing this budget or approving this budget. Like now, in this past month, it is coming out that even senators have huge insertions in the 2025 budget, and even the issue of the PhilHealth, the zeroing of the budget of the PhilHealth, it appears that it was the Senate who asked for that. So it is a BICAM, to say the very least.
Yeah, and senators were complicit in this
Yeah.
hijacking. Okay, I mean, I'm sorry, but certain senators were, because the BICAM process isn't open. We don't know who they are, but this year we will. You know?
Apa, are you optimistic of reforms by way of accountability? Or is the business community optimistic that the actual reforms will happen?
As Senator Ping Lacson said, so long as nobody is being punished or charged, then this will continue. Because the best effort for reform is to show that this cannot be done
Yeah.
with impunity.
Are you optimistic, Apa?
In a sense, I have to be, because
No, what's the mood in the business community? Okay, what's the mood in the business community? Because there's a lot of cynicism. I'm hearing a lot of it, you know. Even with this ongoing campaign of the president.
yeah, okay, sure, it's easy to be cynical, but you know, I think objectively, one of the rays of hope or whatever is that this administration, you know, the Marcos administration, has been very open and collaborative with us. And like, I mean, just the example of Secretary Pangandaman and her, you know, her freedom of information initiatives. You know, that's unprecedented. You've never had an executive department that has supported freedom of information like this. And that's a good governance issue, right? So we are hopeful. And, you know, we have lines and we're able to have discussions with the members of the economic cluster, with other key departments and so on. And I think they're open to reform. A lot of these guys are from the private sector to begin with. So we trust them. We trust them to do the best for the country. And hey, I mean, you know, politics aside, you know, it's, you know, it's never mind what you think of Marcos or whatever, but this government, you know, the executive department has been very, very open and collaborative, and they have made some reforms that we wanted.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're hopeful.
Without sounding cynical, Mr. Ongpin, but part of the executive, like the Department of Public Works and Highways, is by indication participates in this kind of corruption. And that is a key element of the executive. Last budget, they almost overshadowed the budget of the DepEd. And second, the very framework for this scandal of flood control, the thousands of budgets submitted by the executive to Congress, was by its very nature very flawed. How can you have thousands of flood control projects? That opens the doors for corruption.
You know, okay, true. Let's not blame everything on the top leadership of the DPWH, right? These flood control projects are largely LGU projects. And look, let me cite my favorite example, Marikina. Okay? During the last typhoon, those guys, I mean, they spent a lot on flood control. It worked. Marikina didn't flood as badly as it, you know, has traditionally. So somehow those flood control projects worked. It was money well spent, right?
Yeah.
So if if you want it to work, you can make it work. But it's the LGUs, right? Working with the DPWH, yes, but you know, that's it. Everything depends on them. If they, you know, they want to make it corrupt, it's very, very difficult to to reverse that.
But a lot of LGUs are saying that the district engineers have a lot of responsibility with these so-called ghost projects. It's not only the LGUs. Even the LGUs are reporting to the isumbong mo ang Pangulo that these projects are practically ghost projects. I'm not saying that the LGUs are not complicit. I'm just saying that the DPWH knows from the very start whether these projects are viable or whether these projects exist, especially the district engineers.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, there must be some complicitness in this. I still, stand by the thing. Ultimately, it's really the LGU who decides. It's not the DPWH.
And again, in fact, working with LGUs was number 3 on MAP's list of top concerns for 2025. Funny that you bring that up. Corruption aside, what about red tape? I remember when Frederick Go was named Special Assistant to the President on Economic Affairs, there's a lot of optimism because he, was very vocal about cutting down on red tape. Has it gotten better?
Yeah, incrementally. I have to say it's gotten better. The whole one-stop shop concept, which used to be the standard for is it's slowly being revised, okay? Because a lot of the red tape happens again at the LGU level. I mean, it's now pretty easy to register a company with SEC, and then BIR and BOI, where there are incentives. All of those guys, national government agencies, they've fixed their processes. In particular, SEC, SEC, the last few SEC chairmen have really changed that process. Now, where the rubber hits the road is really, again, local government, no? And, getting a business permit, for instance, that's a process fraught with red tape. And, we're doing what we can to try to pressure the government to fix those things.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, the problem is the private sector is also complicit. They'd rather pay the fine because it's cheaper than doing things legally. I mean, pay the fine, pay the bribe, sorry. I mean,
Are there any bright spots in the Philippines by way of reducing red tape? Can you think of any place that could serve as a model, for example?
Yeah, I think there are, but maybe we'll release a report on that, and see what we can see what we can do.
Yeah.
It's a fight that's, I mean, it's decades old. I mean, since the first Marcos, they've been trying to do this fight.
Yes.
And PESA, diba? PESA and now TIESA, those are efforts to reduce red tape by taking away the authority from the local government.
LGU.
Yeah.
I agree, Mr. Ongpin, that a large part of the problem is with our LGUs. A large part of our system where dynasties and cartels dominate happen on the LGU level. But we also have a system where the executive is very strong, where the president is very strong. And definitely that strength can be used, especially the control of the internal revenue allotment, to force LGUs to do what they should do. The DILG has a lot of powers of oversight with the LGUs, and even the budget ministry has a lot of powers in relation to LGUs. So if they can get their act together, the LGUs can really be pressured to accelerate reforms because of the very nature of our political system with a strong executive.
So there's
The strong executive is a bit of a myth, huh? when Marcos made this promise during the SONA that he was going to fight corruption, the biggest question in the minds of many businessmen is agency. You know, does he actually have the power to do this? You know, he's up against the local government units. And, you know, since the last decade, local governments have tremendous powers, especially, you know, with regard to the IRA, no? And it's the way it should be, right? But you know, that takes away from the power of the executive to hold them in line, you know. And it's, you know, it's very, very difficult and tedious. One of the things that we're contemplating on doing with the other business associations is coming up with a grading system, actually, you know, saying, okay, let's grade this city on ease of doing business. And we have, you know, metrics and parameters and so on. The DILG is sort of doing that now, but
Yeah.
we want to do it from the perspective of the private sector. And, you know, let's see how these guys do.
Yeah. Apa, is there any unhappiness or concern within the business community about the Philippines' debt burden, which is projected to breach 19 trillion pesos next year? And that's just a projection that's nearly 2 trillion higher than this year.
Well, you know, it's still sort of within certain parameters of GDP. A lot of our members, for instance, are bankers. So, you know, we like other people's money. You know, we like stuff like that. It's only when your debt payments start to take over, you know, to a level where you're spending your whole GDP on just paying back debt.
Yeah.
When you start to worry. We haven't gotten to that level yet. You know, it's not alarming. Okay. I mean, yes, there's a high level of debt, but let's understand that if this debt is these funds are spent wisely, not in flood control, we'll have returns, you know, and the government will be able to pay them back.
In
What
relation to
about the
our
quality of education in the Philippines? Is that a major concern for the business community?
Yeah, sure. It's a major concern of the Makati Business Club, I'll tell you that much. And, you know, that's one of the reasons we want the former Vice President and former Secretary of Education to be held to account, you know, because we don't think she did that job very well. We're very happy that Sunny Angara was appointed. I think I speak for the membership of Makati Business Club in saying that we like him. We think he's a great manager. He's the right guy for the job. So I think he might be able to turn a few things around.
Mr. Ongpin, in relation to our comparative advantage, like we failed to reach the higher middle income status, Vietnam has surpassed us these past 3 years in terms of economic development. In relation to our neighbors, is our comparative advantage improving or continue to deteriorate? Like as we discussed earlier, education, debt to equity ratio, etc. So ease of doing business. What's the status now of our comparative advantage in relation to our neighbors?
Oh, wow. You know, these questions are far beyond the original scope of what you guys invited me to talk about.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. We said in the past, look, 5.5% annual GDP growth is really an achievement. It's the highest in the region, you know. But what's an even better achievement is that we've been able to tame inflation down to sub 2%. You know, at 5.5% growth. That's really an achievement. So hats off to the Marcos economic cluster, no? The central bank, Banco Central in particular, no? You know, thanks for being able to grow the economy that big with that little inflation, because inflation hurts the poor first, okay? It doesn't really hurt middle-class people. Now, our overall assessment, though, of this kind of growth is, it's the character of the growth. This 5.5%, unfortunately, is all rich people getting richer. It's not poor people getting richer, right? It's not bringing up per capita incomes. And therefore, we've got to try to direct our development, especially to the rural sector and to agriculture, because we need to make poor people not poor, maybe not rich, but that's what a middle income country is. When your farmers can afford to buy pickup trucks. All right? That's our objective. That's what we want to do. It's not just the number 5.5%. We really have to have an equitable development.
Right. It's really all about raising productivity as well. I think that's a good place to leave it. And you're right, Apa. We're sorry. We did only mean to talk to you
Sorry
about
for that.
the impeachment statement, but you're saying a lot of very insightful
Interrelated things
that we wanted to flesh it out further. But thank you for indulging us, Rafael Alfonso Ongpin, or Apa Ongpin, of the Makati Business Club,
Thank you.
Executive Director of
Thanks,
NBC.
Apa.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for